So what you put with that, and this is where it gets really dirty, is this midline dusk. What's going on, Axie fam? Elijah here, back with another video. And today I've got 1437 joining me once again, my fellow Meditate teammate. Thanks for being on the channel.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
So we're going to get after it and talk about some of the absolute soul-crushing teams that are out there in Arena this season, season 19, break them down for you, offer suggestions. But before we do that, I'm thrilled to announce that 1437 and I are going to be hosting our first tournament event under the Meditate banner. This will be the Meditate Charity Invitational. This event's taking place on December 22nd at 6 p.m. Eastern, or Thursday in the Philippines at 7 a.m. And we're just here to invite some of the best players to have some competitive games while raising awareness on relief efforts for the typhoon in the Philippines. The tournament is sponsored by On-Chain Monkey, which I think many of you know I am like a huge supporter of this project. And I reached out to them. They've donated 5 Ethereum to relief efforts. And so we're going to be sharing ways that you can donate as well, that you can help spread the word. We're even going to have on a YGG member to discuss some of the areas that these funds are going to and how they're being used to help those who are struggling in the Philippines right now. Make sure that you bookmark this. We're going to be streaming it on the official Meditate Esports channel on Twitch. It's the first thing we're ever going to be streaming on Twitch, which is exciting. So you can just head over to twitch.tv/Meditate Esports, give us a follow, show some support, and tune in. We might even have some fun extra giveaways perhaps. So we hope to see you all there Wednesday, December 22nd. It's going to be amazing. So jumping right into the video, we're going to be discussing some of the strongest teams that we're running into in the top 100. This is to help you gather some ideas or maybe just make a strong decision on something you want to buy. Maybe you're looking for a team comp. We're going to recommend some really powerful options. Now, I do want to preface that by saying, if you're running a really strong classic team, this doesn't mean you should just abandon the thing that you're making progress with and go buy some high tier meta option, because it's not like you're going to be guaranteed to winning games. You're still going to have to learn a whole new play style, which is going to be a lot of work.
As Elijah and I always talk about, you don't really want to be chasing the meta. In this video, mostly it's going to be about what is going to be the strongest teams that are currently being ran at the moment. But at the end of the day, by the end of the season even, it might not even be the best team. So just be careful.
Yeah, and the last thing that I will say is that we're not discussing double aqua. We're not discussing plant beast bird, but I will mention that I still face those. So they're not as popular as these ultra meta temporary things that are here, but they're still around crushing it. Learn how to play those well, you can go far. So first up, we're going to be discussing a plant-bird combination that has really flourished lately. And that's going to be starting with this toothless hairbird. So the moveset is toothless bite, pigeon post, eggshell, and hair. It's 57 speed because you have a reptile part and a beast part. But why don't we go ahead and talk about why this is so strong? Because it's maybe not what a lot of you are used to seeing. Maybe you see a bunch of little owl, right, which targets the fastest Axie. This, however, targets directly the farthest Axie no matter what. So Theban, what are your thoughts?
So the main reason why people have transitioned into playing this bird is because in most teams that have the big damage dealer, they tend to have another Axie that has more speed so that it covers from the little owl, or as exactly the same speed. So with the toothless bite, you're guaranteed to go to the exact Axie that you want to go on to. You got the egg transfer. And the reason why you also play hair with this build is so that you have that little bit of extra beast damage, which plant teams lack. Yeah. Plus you get that extra card draw.
Yeah, exactly. Really strong right now, a little pricey, 0.17. I could see this having longevity though, compared to some of the other builds we look at. I don't really see it under threat of a major nerf. So what you're going to put with this is a gravel ant plant at the midliner. In most scenarios, we can see here that this is actually fairly reasonably priced at 0.057. There was a time when this plant would have been 0.3 Ethereum back when Indez and Polaco or Indez and Kairu were like the only ones running it. They were sparse. Now market's down a little bit. Great time to get an Axie that is really solid and has been for a few seasons. I don't see it really suffering any major nerfs. Like none of these cards are, I mean, Zigzag might get a small one, but ultimately very well-rounded Axie. And obviously in the late game has the closing potential with Gravelant. The key here is that you can sacrifice this bird in bad 1v1s for the bird by using eggshell. Instead, divert to your plant to finish the job. Now, moving on from this, let's look at the upgraded version, perhaps. Like, I think maybe a little bit higher up on the totem pole right now. And that's going to be this bad boy. I'll let you take it away.
So with the Scaly Spoon, you got the Gravelant, which denies all the melee cards. The Scaly Spoon now does reflects damage from the range cards. And there's a lot of mechs and birds in the top 100. It's very common for furball twin tail mechs to be played there. Same reason why you play the Toothless Bird, because you're trying to snipe off those mechs. So now you have like these two different possible threats to mechs with that Scaly Spoon.
Yeah, guys, for instance, like if you play 2 Scaly Spoons and a mech comes thrashing at you with like 300 or 400 damage, you're going to just flat out kill it if it's all ranged cards, right? I'm pretty sure double furball, double twin tail, the mech just suicides itself. And if you have enough shield to survive that and play the 2 catapults, it's a pretty badass way to win the game. I will say that if you're going this route with the bird and either one of these plants, it does take finesse. You do not have energy gain anywhere. You have 4 1-cost energy cards. So you need to know what you're doing. You need to practice your timings on the egg, especially to buy yourself some more time in pulling them away in the late game. And you need to know when to backdoor your opponent and when not to. If the backdoor isn't a huge threat, let's say it's an Axie that has all melee cards and your Gravel Ant plant is going to do really well against it in the late game, then you're better off just saving up, bursting through the front and midline Axie and getting yourself there rather than like exhausting your backdoor efforts, if that makes sense. A lot of new players make mistakes. They get too backdoor happy, and in some cases it doesn't make sense to do so. Okay, so up front we have a really classic, beautiful plant here with Sirius, Sandal, Beach, and Cattail. Now, if you're looking for budget options, instead of Sandal, you can go with either Scarab or Buzz. The Buzz ones will be really cheap probably in comparison, but still solid, especially as a starting point. And this is just what you want up front in a lot of cases. High damage and shield, which gives you some brick wall potential. Cattail, very important these days with the mechs that are out there to be gaining cards when they're hitting you. And then bugs as well. And then the serious threat for stealing energy.
This plant is maybe even the most important aspect, because without the frontline plant that can deal a lot of damage, your midliner is going to suffer because he has a lot of combo cards there that he needs to like time it. So this frontline plant, you can just toss your cards out. Sandal, amazing card, especially in this double bug meta, just to be able to deal damage to it. If you have like a plant card there, it's not going to do too much. Cattail is a must. Serious for the energy steal, so you have a lot of diversity in your team. And then the most bougie way you can play that plant is with the Goda. Not super common, but I think in a week or two, I'm cooking. I'm cooking there. Yeah. With
Nice. Keep an eye out for that build then, folks. Amazing. So this is a really, really strong double plant build. It's balanced, well-rounded backdoor threat. This helps with mech. So last thing about this too is that depending on what you're facing in arena, you're going to want to switch your bird from going between being at the very back and sometimes being at the middle. If you're just hitting an insane amount of shrimps out there and your bird is super vulnerable, you can tuck this thing into the middle of your 2 monstrous plants, get value quickly, and then rely on your backline scaly zigzag gravel ant plant to close out the game. And that can bring a lot of value and diversity as well. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about the double bug aqua team, which is disgusting. It is everywhere, super annoying to play against, and also coined by yours truly here sitting in front of me, Theban.
It's evolved quite a bit since then. I'll tell you that much. I think especially with so many more people playing the double bug teams, like people have had to adjust their builds, especially the kind of stats that they want, or even the backline Axie.
Really, in short, the classic way of going about it, you need discards at the middle and at the front, and these bugs are typically going to look about the same. You want high damage on the back, so here Sandal up front is great, especially because you're facing a lot of mirror match bugs. It's really important that you have that extra damage against those bugs. 2 discards, Fish Snack for durability. You have enough shield here that you don't really need a Snail Shell these days. Maybe if you're a newer player, Snail is nice. It's a little easier to play and survive with that card, but as you progress, you'll want to lean into the damage. At the middle, I think having Scarab is the best for some diversity and to help with all all the healing plants that are out there. So that's my go-to choice if I was to play it. The Koi Balloon Aqua is kind of taking over as the strongest bet. It's got decent speed. And why don't you jump in here and explain why you think that is?
Right. So initially we started with playing the Nemo Pockies in the back, but now people are starting to play the Kois because they realize that the bird matchups are a little bit tougher since you don't have a natural way of gaining speed and you're not that tanky anymore, especially with the goldfish and the risky fish nerf. So now with this Pocky, Koi, you have a way to speed up. You have a lot of control with the balloon available as well. And if you're in a mirror matchup, because you have that 55 speed aqua and a little bit less HP with that balloon, you have that advantage of going first as well.
Yeah, which is massive. And I'll just say that the risky fish is the budget version. But if you want to get, as Steven said, really bougie, you're going to switch that out for piranha or lamb. So if we get rid of risky fish, I mean, piranha is really the creme de la creme, but those are going to start at 0.278, which is pretty insane, I must say. Lamb is nice though. It just gives you a little more beef and durability. It's going to crush other aquas in a 1v1. But if you're on a budget, risky fish, definitely viable. If you're on a super budget and you're starting out, the Nemo version, still a great choice as well. 2 bugs, Nemo for energy, easy to play, and you're going to be cruising your way up through the MMR. So that's going to cover the double bug aqua. Really super strong build right now. And we're going to move our way into the last team that has taken over the meta. Now, this comp's the one that definitely gets stamped with the caution tag before buying. I do not necessarily think this will have super long legs per se. I think discards are due for some adjustments most likely, and then the mech that we'll be looking at as well. So proceed with caution here. Don't go rushing out and buying this build necessarily, but let's jump into it. Spam and Rice's monstrosity, which now more than just him, a few players actually have copied it and have in the top 100. So let's actually start with the God Mech, the most insane Axie in the game right now. And it's the one that has the ultimate damage moveset, but also the backdoor threat. So we're looking at Furball, Toothless, Dual Blade, Twin Tail. If you don't already know, 2 Furballs and 2 Twin Tails is going to do 600 damage to plants. And that's going to happen with only 2 energy, which is absolutely ridiculous. They changed the skill bonus. I think it's a bit of a fumble on the Axie team's part. I think they know that, but it's like they can't fix this right in the middle of the season. They already had to do that with the bone sale issue earlier, bone sale and bumpy. So for now, this thing exists and it's absolutely disgusting. It costs almost 1 Ethereum for the fastest speed. If you're looking for a budget version, you can get a slower one for 0.24. Definitely not as good, but also, I mean, if you're new, you'll be slashing faces with even a slower version. Do you have any thoughts on this absolutely ridiculous Axie?
It's funny. I guess we should give it a little bit of a backstory here. Spam and Rice, one of the breeders, gave him this Axie and said, oh, if you sell this, just give me half the profits. And Spam's like, oh, I think I'm just going to play it. And he decided to make something work with it. It's ridiculously strong. The general idea is this Axie has the option to go through the front or the back, and your opponent is always considering where do I need to defend from? And if he goes from the back and then he jumps again to the back to your midline Axie, like this Axie has so much damage that it can just delete almost anything with the full 4 clip. So
yeah,
Toothless,
I think
Dual Blade, Furball, Twin Tail, so
dead.
much damage.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is crazy because for the first time ever, mechs, which are supposed to be a class disadvantage to aquas, actually can slash a full HP aqua with the right combination of cards on a backdoor. And that just wasn't really possible before. The skill bonus has really outweighed that difference of, you know, these should be doing a little less damage to aquas. It actually does about its base damage, which is crazy. Even Twin Tail, the combo bonus is what is it, like 47 damage? It gets like a little bonus, which is backwards. So hopefully that gets worked out. For now, definitely, I'd say the top 1 or 2 most strong Axies in the game. So what you put with that, and this is where it gets really dirty, is this midline Dusk. This one just has maximum beef. You don't need too much damage because your mech kind of has you covered there. This is more about stalling the game, stalling the midliner, and you do that with the Winghorn, the Chomps, leaving them stunned. Grass Snake slowly chips away at them as well. And then when they do get through your plant, you have your bone sails there to really make life difficult for your opponent in terms of getting to that mech of yours on the back line if they don't have a backdoor attack. So that's the purpose of the midliner. And then up front, lastly, it's topped off with this super nice icing on the cake of discards, which just is brutal to be up against because this limits those backdoor options. So if you get a nice draw on this plant with pincers, parasites early on, you're screwing up your opponent's options, hopefully discarding some shrimps or some toothless bites to prolong your mech's life, or other critical cards that they might be saving for combinations. At the same time, your opponent is apprehensive about attacking into your plant for obvious reasons. You have Yam, which is really going to screw them up as the game progresses, especially since your furballs and twin tails get more ticks as they pop those moves out. And then the bone sail, which also makes things tough if they attack into that and give you too many options. You draw your backdoor combo faster. A lot of weaponry and options to tear your opponent apart. And that's why we've seen this sitting at the #1 spot for a lot of the season. And now even more than one player making that type of push up there with it.
So the general idea of this team is just to get to your mech cards. The biggest weakness to it would be other backdoors. One of the earlier axes we showed you with the Toothless by Bird, that's exactly why players play that, mainly to counter a team like this that has a mech in the back to just be able to kill that off, because the poison Axie on its own is not going to be able to have that same level of carry potential as the mech would.
So, I mean, that's 3 insane options for you. I know this one is like very pricey, but if you're feeling like just going crazy, that's out there to be purchased more reasonably. There's great double plant bird option, double bug aqua option. And I think maybe we'll end this video by saying that at Meditate Esports, we probably have 6 or 7 guys in and out of the top 100 right now. The other day we had 4 of our teammates in the top 10, which was pretty crazy. I'm super proud of all these guys, and none of them are running these exact specific teams. There's small variations. I think we have a couple guys doing the double plant bird, but with the bone sail leaf bug hot butt plant, which isn't as common. And the real point here is that no matter what your team is, you just need to believe in it and master it and make sure you have strong fundamentals and that you're balanced, because you'll see all kinds of combinations make it into the top 100. These are just a few of the most popular ones that are fairly easy to pick up and learn in a relatively short time.
So personally, I don't really like to buy these super expensive Axies. I prefer Axies that have a lot of longevity. This is something that Elijah has taught me, and that's generally the kind of angle I go towards. Even when I started playing the bugs, that's how I felt. I felt like they weren't really super strong, but when you combine them with some of these other Axies, then they become extremely powerful. So if you can always, have an eye for that, you're going to benefit quite a bit. This teams right now, this is something that a lot of the players just started out with as just some kind of a niche team, and then they popularized it. So someone set the meta there.
So on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this video. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, of course, if you haven't already, and then tune in for our charity event in a couple of days. It's going to be a blast. Theban and I both hosting it. We're excited. We got 8 of the best players in the game from different guilds coming in to compete. Yeah, we hope to see all of you there. Also, subscribe to Theban's YouTube channel. I'll leave a link for that in the description below as well. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you all very soon. Peace.